Spooky season is done and gone, but there's still plenty of spooky stuff to talk about. Hence, in today's video, we will be talking about The Haunted Hotel, and more specifically, its renewal for Season 2, what that could mean for the show and Netflix, in addition to just some random speculation of my own as to what we might see in Season 2. And in addition to that, of course, what I might like to see. And yes, Abaddon stands, I do of course want to see more of everybody's favourite demonic little jelly bean. Now, of course, with all of that out of the way, I think we have to start off this video with the biggest bit of news we've gotten about the show recently. That, of course, being the confirmation that the show has been renewed for a second season, which for a lot of people has been viewed as a big achievement for this show, as many people have praised the show for being able to break Netflix's curse of running a show for only one season and then cancelling it, which I too also think is a great achievement. But still, I don't think that the show is quite out of the woods yet, as I've seen many great shows get a second season on Netflix only for them to be inevitably cancelled. Which isn't something that I'm necessarily saying is going to happen with The Haunted Hotel. Instead, I'd far rather see this show get many more seasons to come in the future, because of course I love the characters and I like the stories that we have going on with the show. Which is something I think I really have a lot in common with a lot of other fans who would also like to see the show continue to run for a few more seasons. But still, without actually working at Netflix, I'm afraid we're all just going to have to trust in the wisdom of the Netflix executive.
Do I detect a note of sarcasm?
Are you kidding me? This baby is off the charts. Right.
Now, really, the announcement and confirmation of the show being renewed for Season 2 was something that I hoped for, but it wasn't something that I was surprised by. And honestly, I say this because when I finished the first season of the show initially, I did end up walking away from the show pretty secure in the fact that I thought it would get a second season. And really, I believe this just because I didn't think that there was any sort of way that a show like this could fail. I mean, The Haunted Hotel is an animated comedy, similar in vein to shows like Rick and Morty and Futurama. And really, when it comes to shows like these, I believe that on streaming services like Netflix, there's far less of a chance for them to fail. Because really, when you go into a show like this, you can just pick an episode and you can start watching. With animated comedies like these, you don't have to commit yourself to understanding a bunch of arbitrary rules that have been set by the story, and you don't have to commit yourself to remembering and understanding long-running story arcs. Instead, you can just pick the show up and start watching and enjoy the comedy and all of the shenanigans that come out of a show like this, which is something that I found very reminiscent of the first few seasons of Rick and Morty. And of course, in saying all of this, I'm not saying that animated comedies can't do the same sort of long-running story arcs and character development work that you see in other genres, because of course they can, and various shows have done it before in the past, with shows like South Park, Rick and Morty, and Archer. But I think when it comes to the first few seasons of any animated comedy, that's really not something that the creators are all too focused on at the moment. Oop, my cat's in my lap. If you hear a bell dinging, it's my cat. Anyway, yes, as I was saying, animated comedies in their first few seasons tend to be really pretty successful, because with the first few seasons of any animated comedy, I really think that the creators take a good amount of time to really establish the world they're working with and the characters living within it. Which is something that I think The Haunted Hotel did pretty fantastically with its first season. And in addition to all of that world building and character work, I really think that the show did quite well with a lot of its comedy, which of course is something I spoke more about in my previous video talking about the first season. So yeah, I'll leave a link to that video in the description down below for you if you want to go check that out later. And so yes, the announcement and confirmation of the show being renewed for Season 2 wasn't something that surprised me. It was something I definitely hoped for and something that I definitely thought that the show had done well to earn. What with the way that the show set up its first season and then developed its characters, world building and its comedy.
I would like my allowance now.
You can have $1.
Yes.
With all of that said, I think it's time for us to move on to talking about what we might see in Season 2. Now, when it comes to speculating as to what we might see in Season 2, I think there's definitely a lot that we could definitely speculate about, as the previous season definitely did a good job to set up a bunch of character and story details that could be properly developed in Season 2. And instead of individually going through each possible story and character detail that we might see, I'm instead just going to talk about a few things that I think might definitely happen in Season 2. With the first one being the one that I'm pretty sure everyone is going to be talking about and hoping for. With that being further development of the story surrounding Nathan's death. Because really back in Season 1, this was kind of a bombshell moment for the show. In the run up to the reveal as to how Nathan died, we did of course see Catherine attempt to not interact with Nathan and really try and shield him from the truth of his own death. With really one of the best examples coming from the episode Ghost Hunters, which was the episode where we got to see Catherine try and hide an email that she had sent to Nathan after his death. Which the contents of the email make a whole lot more sense now when you consider the way that Nathan had died. And yeah, I do feel like there is a whole lot of complex real-world emotions that go into talking about this subject, but still I do think it is a subject worth talking about and something that I would like to see talked about further in the future. Because really for me, Nathan is a great character. I do like him as a character, and really what confuses me about him is just how he got into that state in the first place. Because really, something that the show has done quite well with its first season is establish how Nathaniel is as a character and really leave us with the ambiguity as to how he got into that predicament in the first place and how it led to his inevitable death. Which is something that I think really strikes a chord with the real world parallels of this subject. As really, I've heard a lot of people say before that something like this just can't be predicted, and it was something that nobody expected from these sorts of people who inevitably go to this sort of extreme. And really, I think that the sadness and tragedy of this aspect of the show is something that really works well with the writing and the character work. However, when it comes to that same character work, I would like to see the show in Season 2 perhaps elaborate on just how a character like Nathan got to that sort of extreme in the first place, which in the end I think would be a great opportunity for the show to tell us who our characters were back when this tragic event actually took place. And yeah, for me that's the big one out of the way, so now I'd just like to talk briefly as to a few other subjects I'd like to see the show elaborate on in Season 2. Abaddon is everybody's favourite little goofy gremlin, and that is of course for good reason. Abaddon is a very funny, very mischievous and very mysterious character, and really going into Season 2 I'd like to see a little bit more from Abaddon. The first season did a good job at establishing Abaddon's character, his mischievous attitude, and just his general way of thinking. And going into Season 2, I'd like to see a little bit more from Abaddon just with how he is trapped in the human world and how he feels about that. Really, with a character like Abaddon, I do think there are some great setups for stories about body dysmorphia and just feeling trapped and really just feeling like you have been lost. Of course, I wouldn't want to see Abaddon's stories get too dramatic or anything. I mean, for a lot of people, he is still that goofy gremlin, and I'd like to see him remain that. Because of course, Abaddon is one of the funnier characters in the show and really someone that I think a lot of audiences really enjoy seeing. It's just that I'd like to see a little bit of a balancing act be struck with his character. And that's really just because I feel like the setups for his character have really been put together quite well. And really, with that, there are a wide variety of stories you could engage this character with. Now, moving on to one of my favourite characters from the first season, we're going to talk about Ben. Ben was a character I found very endearing in the first season and someone I thought got a good bit of character development. Really, in the first season, Ben had a good few things going on. He of course had his ghost girlfriend, he was a spiritual medium, and he had a tenuous relationship with his father that he shared with his sister Esther. He also had his probably most notable episode, the 7 Deadly Bens. And really, when it comes to Ben's character in the second season, I think there's a wide variety of different stories that the show could potentially engage his character with. And really, in the second season, what I think we're most likely to see to come from Ben's character would have to be further development with his ghost-girlfriend relationship. Because of course, in the first season, Ben's character gave off a lot of gay energy, and really I don't think I'm one of the only people to notice this. So as the show goes forward, I will be interested to see just how they develop Ben's character in relation to this subject. Because really, when you think about it, Ben's relationship with his ghost girlfriend isn't something that I think is going to last. And really, I say that because, I mean, she's dead, and Ben is Ben. So really, we might see their relationship last till the end of Season 2, but I don't think we'll see it last beyond that. And really, with Season 2, I think we might see a good bit of development come from that relationship and just how Ben thinks of himself and what he thinks of that relationship. And yeah, I did say earlier that I got a good few vibes from Ben that really just made me look at him and think gay, but also I would like to see this sort of development come from a character like Ben and really I do think that the show has set up his character really quite well in that matter. And really I don't know how him and his girlfriend are making that whole relationship work anyway. I mean, she's a ghost, he just passes straight through her. It's weird, but you know, it's the haunted hotel, so... Anyway, outside of the potential revelations concerning Ben's sexuality, there are also a wide variety of other stories that Ben has had set up for him in the first season that could be further developed in the second. With really the biggest one being, for me, just his relationship with his father. In the episode Aunt Rose, we really got to see a little bit of just how Ben's relationship is with his father. And really, back in the first season, the show really quite well demonstrated that relationship between him and his father by placing him into a sort of juxtaposition with Esther. Honestly, Ben seems to have a bit more of a mature and understanding relationship with his father. It doesn't seem like he's really too connected with him anymore, but when it comes to Esther, it appears to be the opposite. Which is something that I think really works well for both characters, and is something that I would also like to see be further developed with Esther's character. And lastly, there are just a couple more things I want to talk about in relation to Ben's character, largely because I think they're funny. Really, back in the previous season, Ben got his best chance to shine in the episode The 7 Deadly Bens, which really was a great episode and really quite well managed to demonstrate Ben's character and his personality, in addition to also setting up some of the gay vibes we got from his character. Really, the plot of the episode was one that really quite in-depthly managed to explore Ben's character and also build on his relationship with his mother. It's something I really enjoyed seeing, but is something I'd still like to see be further developed in future seasons. Earlier in the video, I did of course speak as to how I thought that in the future there could be the potential for the revelation that Ben is gay. Building on this, however, I do still think that there is also further room for more development with his character beyond just his sexuality. And in saying this, I really think that this episode makes a good case for that, as the episode The 7 Deadly Bens really did manage to isolate each individual part of what made Ben Ben, and I really think that in the future there could be further elaboration as to just how those parts of Ben develop. And lastly, before we move on, I of course have to mention that in the ending of The 7 Deadly Bens, we did see Free Spirit Ben leave the haunted hotel, which at the time did serve as a fairly decent and funny ending to that episode, but is still something that I think that we could see some development come from in the future. And really, I can one day see Free Spirit Ben coming back from his holiday out into the wider world and seeing that the rest of the world isn't really quite as free-spirited as he is, and he might just be a little angry about that. Hell, he might even be vengeful. But hey, who knows? I don't think we'll get to see that in Season 2, however. Honestly, I think we might have to wait till something like Season 3 or 4.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
For the last two characters I want to talk about today, I want to talk about Catherine and I want to talk about Esther. Catherine was a character that I thought got a lot of good character development in the first season, with really her standout role coming in the episode Aunt Rose, which I think was a great episode for her because I think that the episode really managed to quite well demonstrate what her relationships are with her wider family. The episode also did a great job to really place her into a sort of juxtaposition with her brother Nathan. Really, the story of that episode was something that I think really quite well managed to test her character, and was really something that I couldn't predict as the story went on. It was also an episode that really, I think, quite well managed to demonstrate how she thinks about things. Of course, in the first season we also had other episodes like How to Train Your Demon, which was another episode which really placed us in Catherine's mind and really got us thinking as to just how she's going to make her business work. And beyond just the business side of things, we also got episodes like The Estheticists in Season 1, which really managed to demonstrate just her compassion for her children and just how she feels about being in this hotel with them when there are so many dangers. But probably her most standout episode would have to be the episode Unfinished Business, which I think is a great episode that really managed to find a good balance between all of these different parts of her character. And really, I think it was a great episode to really put her into a sort of showdown with some of the ghost characters found in the haunted hotel. And honestly, the best part of this showdown didn't come from just Catherine wanting to get into a fist fight with a ghost or anything. Instead, it was something that came from her own genuine love and compassion for her children, especially Esther. Because of course, Esther's own affiliation and interest in the paranormal has been something that Catherine has found a little off-putting from episode 1. And so really what that episode managed to do quite well was really kind of validate Catherine's concerns for her children and demonstrate to us what those concerns are. And really, Catherine's own concerns being set up so well worked wonders for her story that would be developed in that episode, especially in relation to just how she feels about Esther and her own interest in the paranormal. And the ending to that episode was something that managed to strike a pretty good compromise between those two characters and really build on their relationship with one another. With Esther realizing that Catherine is just concerned for her safety, and Catherine realizing that Esther is a little bit more knowing than she appears. Now, I've already spoken about Esther a little bit throughout the rest of the video, so here I'm just going to talk about a few small things I'd like to see potentially be developed in Season 2. The big one for me would of course have to be Esther's relationship with her father. As I mentioned previously in the episode Aunt Rose, we really got to see a good little bit as to what Esther's relationship with her father is currently. And yeah, the episode does a good job to suggest that maybe Esther and Ben's father isn't the most caring person in the world, but still it also does a good job to establish that Esther is still at that age where she is very connected to him regardless of that. So really going into Season 2, I'd be hoping that we would get to see a little bit more development of that story. And really, in the previous season, we got to really see and understand that Esther is a character who is really quite knowledgeable and really understands a lot of the paranormal things going on around her. The previous season also really helped to establish the fact that Esther is someone who both knows and understands the paranormal, but also someone who really enjoys being around the paranormal. And so really, in Season 2, I think it would be quite beneficial for us as an audience to see maybe a flashback of sorts or something like that, just to see where Esther's own affinity for the supernatural really came from. And otherwise, outside of flashbacks, I'd also like to see Esther receive a little bit more character development work. And really, in terms of that subject, I think there's a good amount of potential to really do that sort of character work for Esther, whilst also doing things like really kind of developing her own friendship with Heather, who are two characters that I think really work well with one another, and two characters that I'd like to see have their friendship develop more in Season 2. Okay everybody, it's confirmed that Haunted Hotel has been renewed for a second season. I can't wait to get a bunch more spooky tales from the Undervale Hotel, and I really look forward to seeing these characters again. So please, everyone, let me know in the comments section down below what you thought of the first season of the Haunted Hotel. Let me know if you're excited for Season 2, and be sure to let me know what you think we might get from that season. Thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to do all the YouTube stuff, like, subscribe and comment, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.